Tolling Bells and Dark Spells, a Southern Paranormal Cozy Mystery, a Darkly Southern Mystery, Book 1. Written by Tam Lumière. Narrated by Hollis Mccarthy. Chapter 1. Are you sure this is right? My ears reverberated from the thunderous humming of the airboat as I stepped onto the brown-planked walkway and tried to ignore the murky green water below the gaps. On my head, my big floppy hat, one that I had worn to countless poolside soirees and garden parties, was now a drooping, shapeless mass. I brushed down my white jumpsuit and cursed my lack of forethought in choosing my attire for the day. A relaxing boat ride I was expecting. A choppy airboat ride, not so much. "Yes, ma'am." The boat operator grinned broadly. "Darkly Island." My fashionably messy bun, which had taken my stylist 2 hours to create, was undone in less than 20 minutes. It now stuck out all over my head as if a family of swamp rats had moved in and redecorated. I tried to tuck some of the stray chestnut-brown hairs back into place, gave up, and plopped my ruined hat back on my head, protecting my pale skin from the blistering sun. The earthy smell of wood rot and wet grass hit my nose, along with an undercurrent of something sweet and delicate, perhaps honeysuckle or frangipani. A thicket of bald cypress trees ran along the shoreline, surrounded by tall, swaying cattails. Beyond the dock, a few low-growing palms swayed next to a gravel path. As I looked around my new home, contemplating returning to the boat and hightailing it back to New York, the boatman set my designer trunk and matching vanity case on the dock. With a flourish, he tipped his hat and hopped back onto the boat, sliding deftly behind the air shield. The engine cut on with a roar, and I threw a hand on top of my hat, waving hysterically with the other. "Wait! Aren't you going to help me with all these bags?" The man waved back, gave one last toothy grin, and spun the boat around, heading back the way we came. I stomped one high-heeled boot in frustration. Without the rush of air from the boat ride, the Louisiana heat smothered me in its heavy cloak. Within minutes my whole body felt hot and sticky, and I wondered how I would ever get used to living in this devilish heat. With a sigh, I heaved my tote onto my shoulder, swatted at a dragonfly trying to hitch a ride, and grabbed both pieces of luggage. Never one to over-dramatize things, and I mean that quite sarcastically, I stomped my foot one last time for good measure, and was repaid with a booming crack as my heel crashed through the rickety dock. I toppled sideways, over-adjusted, and then fell forward, but up in the air. I clutched my precious bags beneath me, not daring to move an inch. My ruined hat slid from my head and lodged itself in the cattails lining the shore. I shook my head. "Oh, for Pete's sake." "Need some help, Cher?" A smooth southern voice called to me from the shore. Leaning against the willow tree was a tan blond man in khaki pants and a short-sleeved silk shirt. He appeared to be in his 30s like me, and held himself with a laid-back assurance I desperately craved at that moment. I might never get accustomed to this blazing heat, but I could definitely get accustomed to Louisiana gentlemen, especially if they call me Cher and happen to be as movie star attractive as this man. "Yes, please, if you would." "You must forgive Char," he said as he ambled over to inspect my intertwined luggage and legs. "To his detriment, being in that wretched boat every day has left him almost completely deaf." He pulled his hands from his pockets and bent over until he was at my eye level. "You're going to need to let go of these bags if you want me to deposit them safely on terra firma." Once I had relinquished my hold, he easily untangled my luggage. Without launching either of us into the marsh, I might add. He then picked up both the trunk and the case, deftly skirted the gaps in the dock, and deposited the bags next to the gravel path. He sauntered back to the dock and crouched down.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?